Thank you everyone for coming to our seminar and webinar organized by RKS. This is the second part of our seminar about digital investments. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our speakers. We have two guest speakers today. The first one on your left is Mr. Victor Ho. Mr. Ho is the Executive Director of Trident Trust. Victor has over 30 years of experience in the financial services industry, focusing on wealth management and estate planning for Chinese corporate and high net worth individuals. Prior to relocating to Hong Kong, joining Trident Trust Hong Kong, Victor was the head of Asia Pacific at a Jersey Trust Group. He is fluent in Cantonese, Mandarin, and English. And on your right is Mr. Calvin Tsai, the co-founder of Hong Kong Program Trading Research Center. Calvin also attended the first part of our seminar, which touched on divorce, and in that section, we did it in Cantonese. Calvin is a portfolio manager of a quantitative hedge fund, actively trading in crypto and ranked top 200 in crypto exchange leaderboard. He won the overall champion and best strategy award in cash algo trading contest 2017. He also won the IFTA FinTech Achievement Gold Award in 2019. And you might have seen him regularly on Facebook or other social media. He is a columnist in financial magazines and newspapers such as HKEJ and ONCC. And again, he is a regular speaker on Now TV, View TV, RTHK. And he is also an author of two best-selling books, 程式交易快穩準 and 程式交易的理論與實踐. Last but not least is my associate, Ms Sarina Cheung. Sarina headed the Department of Probate Services in a well-established and reputable trust and banking corporation in Hong Kong, and had accumulated over 10 years of experience there as a trust and estate practitioner. She led her team to involve in major trust and probate administrations and was well trusted by her peers and her clients as being professional, passionate, and strategic. In 2018, she made a big career move to be qualified as a lawyer. She was trained in an international law firm specializing in private clients and stayed there for a year before joining RKS. Okay, so we need to now work on this new investment. For me, it's always news. No matter how many times I've heard cryptocurrency, and no matter how many times I attended Calvin's sessions, I'm still new. So, Calvin, I pass this to you, and then you can start explaining to us what it is all about. And then Sarina and Victor will deal with the area that touch on their expertise. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, thanks for having me today, and it's really my pleasure to have this section to share with you guys what cryptocurrency is, and also what blockchain is, or what digital asset is. Okay, just like last time, I would briefly talk about briefly give you an introduction of what they are, and I will pass the floor to Sarina and Victor later. Okay, they will talk about more on wealth management and also succession. Okay, the first part is about what digital asset is and what crypto is. And actually, in my career, I mainly work in buy-side firm, for example, hedge fund, prop trading firm. I trade all the products listed on the exchange, for example, equities, commodities, FX, and also fixed income. And recent years, I do crypto as well. I mainly trade crypto these 2 years because the market is quite new, and it means a new asset. New market means it is very inefficient. Inefficient in a way means that it's really profitable, and there are many trading opportunity and many trading offers that I can do and I can discover. So crypto is what I'm doing currently. And first, talk about what crypto is. Actually, crypto and NFT are born, or they are byproduct from blockchain. And blockchain is born at around 2008, okay, by the guy an anonymous guy. We don't know his like real identity. We don't know his nationality or where the guy comes from. Okay, his nickname is Satoshi. Satoshi Nakamoto. Okay, by his name, you think he's like a Japanese guy, but actually is really a myth. Okay, we are not sure about him, and we only know he's the creator of the first blockchain, and which is the Bitcoin blockchain. Okay, what blockchain is? Blockchain is a network, or we so-called it's a system, okay, or ledger, okay, which is aimed to replace the current payment gateways, okay, or replace the current banking system, so that we can transfer the value, okay, on the network in a split of second. For example, if we want to transfer money or transfer some like currency from Hong Kong to US, okay, we usually use the wire, okay, the banking system to transfer money. It usually takes around maybe 2 days, 3 days, okay, and then it requires a middleman. Middleman is the bank, okay, or even when you pay, okay, or when you pay something or buy something, buy goods from Amazon, okay, you use PayPal or Visa or Master, okay, it takes time, and it also involve like a commission, okay, or a fee charged by bank or charged by system. For example, several hundred Hong Kong dollars or like 1 to 3% by PayPal, okay. But blockchain, when you use blockchain to transfer value, okay, it can be done in like 1 second or 2 seconds by just using the BTC blockchain, or you may hear another name is ETH blockchain, okay. ETH is second biggest cryptocurrency or second biggest blockchain so far, okay, out right now. And when you use this kind of blockchain network to transfer value, it just costs you like $10 Hong Kong, $10 Hong Kong dollars, or even cheaper. Okay. Another new blockchain evolved like in recent 2 years. So it's called Solana. Okay, Solana, SOL. The short form is SOL. It can even process a number of trades per second up to like 5,000 or even 10K per second. Okay, the value, the amount of transaction it can process is much higher than PayPal and what Visa can do. Okay, and by the numbers of transactions done by these kind of blockchain system, it even surpassed Visa and PayPal last year. The figure, okay, I mean the number of transaction, number of value done by these kind of network. So it's really a big trend. I think it's the future to replace or to use to replace the banking system, and also to replace the like a payment gateway. Okay, so in 2008 and 2009, Bitcoin came out. Okay, Bitcoin came out. So what's the relationship between blockchain and Bitcoin? You may think it as the banking system and also your currency. Okay, banking system is the blockchain and currency is Bitcoin. Okay, so when you transfer Hong Kong dollar using like a wire system, it can be done by transferring Bitcoin using the blockchain. So it is a very simple wording, to explain what is a blockchain and what is cryptocurrency. Okay, so far the biggest one in terms of the market value is a Bitcoin, and the second biggest is a ETH. You may also hear like BNB, USDT, USDC, and Dogecoin, okay, or Shiba Coin. And so far there are around more than 10K cryptocurrency out there. Okay, but usually I just focus on the top 100 because there are lots of scam project or like a scam coin out there. So I just focus on the like a top 10 or top 100 in terms of the market value. And okay, what's the second one? Second one is NFT. Okay, NFT is also a byproduct from blockchain. Okay, NFT means in the wordings, okay, in a long form is non-fungible token. By simple wordings, you may not know what is non-fungible token. Okay, I would say it's like a certificate, okay, to prove that an object is owned by you and it's not replicable. Okay, it's not you cannot find another one. Okay, in the world, okay, it's a unique and it's owned by you. So you say it's a proof of ownership, okay, or certificate. In our daily life, maybe when men buy a Rolex watch, okay, you have the certificates to prove that it's unique and you have the serial number. And when you resell, why you could resell the watch, okay, to others because you have the certificate. If you don't have the certificate to prove that is authentic, okay, other people may not buy, okay, may not buy them or may not think that it is a real one, okay. For women, okay, you may buy some like LV handbag or Gucci handbag, okay. If you don't have the certificate to prove that is unique and owned by you, okay, it's really hard for you to resell it. So NFT is using the blockchain technology to prove that it's owned by you, okay, an object is owned by you. What's the object? Okay, it can be a photo, it can be a music, it can be a video, it can be an IP, a domain, or even a Twitter post. Okay, or even metaverse. Okay, you may heard metaverse. If you may hear the metaverse, this word, okay, it means some a game or a virtual world. Okay, and you can own it. Why? Because you have NFT. Okay, so crypto and NFT, in simple words, they are derived or byproduct from blockchain. Okay. Okay, the next slide is about how they can be contained. Okay, usually we use hot wallet and cold wallet to contain the digital asset, to contain the cryptocurrency and also NFT. When talking about hot wallet, it means you store the cryptocurrency or assets online, okay, on the internet. For example, if you want to buy Bitcoin, buy your first Bitcoin, how could you do? Okay, usually we just search Binance or FTX, these kind of crypto exchange on the internet, okay, on the Google. And you may need to open an account, like a bank account, do some KYC stuff, okay, just to type in your detail or your information and upload your HAID and also do a Face ID as well. Okay, usually within 2 or 3 days, you can open, okay, a crypto exchange account. And then on the account, you can just buy the coin you like, for example, Dogecoin, Bitcoin, ETH. And in Hong Kong, there are 2 crypto exchange which is licensed, which has the license given by SFC. Okay, so that you can really legally buy Bitcoin. I'm not talking about Binance is not legal, it's illegal, or FTX is illegal. They just don't have the SFC license at the moment. Okay, but in Hong Kong, you may try to search for OSL. Okay, the first one that acquired the license from SFC is OSL. Another one is called hash key. Okay, HASHKEY. Okay, yeah, you may just search these 2 exchange. And usually when you put the digital asset or put a cryptocurrency on this kind of platform, because you need to have the internet, you need to log in, you need to have the password, and it is stored in their account. So it's called hot wallet. It's online. Okay. Another one is called cold wallet. Cold wallet is like a USB thing. You may see it on the slide. Okay, it's Google Photo. A lot of USBs. This kind, we call it cold wallet because it's not connected with the internet. Okay, so when you compare hot wallet and cold wallet, the pros and cons of hot wallet and cold wallet is that it's much safer when you put the cryptocurrency or NFT in cold wallet, because it's not connected with the internet. Even the hackers have your password or have your account number. They can't access. Okay, they access your digital assets because you have your USB. You have cryptocurrency stored in USB, and you can put your USB in your under your bed, okay, or under your pillow, okay. But in terms of when you put a digital currency in hot wallet, if the hackers have your password and your login, okay, they can just hack in your account and then steal it. So when you usually you will hear some news, okay, about hacking account or hacking your exchange account, because the people, they receive some phishing email or phishing SMS, okay, they just they're not careful enough. Okay, they just type their password or send out their password, okay, to the internet. So I would say it's much safer to put in cold wallet.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
What if it's in the cold wallet, but then someone picked up my USB? Would that be like very dangerous?
Okay, even you use cold wallet, you have to enter the passcode as well. You have passcode as well. Okay, so it means that even I have your USB, I have also I need to have your password as well.
So I don't write my password on the USB.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
stick
sure.
it on
Just write in your brain. Yeah,
Okay.
just write in your brain. Yeah, because in for example, for hot wallet, usually you will store your like password in your Chrome browser or like store your password on your phone. So it's rather easily to be stolen by others. Yeah. So if you are a frequent trader, okay, if you have to trade Bitcoin like daily or weekly, have to do frequent trade with others, it will be more convenient if you store it on hot wallet. So the advantage of using hot wallet is that it's more convenient. Okay, if you're a daily trader or intraday trader, if you trade Bitcoin frequently. But if you wish to pass your cryptocurrency or pass your Bitcoin to your like your grandchildren, pass to your son, it's better to put it in cold wallet. Okay, just search for Trezor and Ledger. These two are the most famous two cold wallet. You can find it in the internet. I came across Bitcoin in around 2017, okay, around 5 years ago. And then I just online and purchased a crypto cold wallet. Okay, and it's around 1,000 Hong Kong dollars. It's not really expensive. Oh, it's like your wallet, your real wallet. Okay.
Like an Hermes wallet.
Yeah, sure.
What happens if I store my Bitcoin in a cold wallet? And obviously that's password protected. But like we say that, the granddad, bought it and he created password, but somehow he lost it and he forgot about it.
Okay.
And then do you just lose that Bitcoin? Is there another technology or something you'll be able to?
Yeah, sure. This is a good question. Another defense system is that it also has a so-called seed phrase. Okay, seed phrase or passcode is like 12 to 24 English word. Okay, it came along with your cold wallet. Okay, when you purchase your cold wallet, there's a paper. Okay, and it has a backdoor. Backdoor key. It has 12 to 24 English word. For example, it's like random words. Okay, apple, orange. Okay, run. Okay, walk, and random wordings on a paper. So even if you forgot your passcode, okay, or forgot your password, if you have this kind of if you have this paper, okay, you can recover by typing your 12 to 24 passcode to like for example, if you have a Trezor, you can just search Trezor, go to their official website and type back this 12 to 24 passcode, and then you can recover your USB, recover your assets. This is also a way that in case you have your cold wallet put in the water, okay, or it's broken, damaged, the USB is damaged, you can also use the 24 words to recover your crypto
So
assets.
even if it's physically damaged, it could still be recovered by these seed phrases.
Yeah, sure. Okay, after talking how do we contain the cryptocurrency and NFT, and let's talk about how they can be transferred. When you have a Binance account or FTX account or OSL account, how you can transfer your cryptocurrency to your friends or relatives, maybe in US or UK or in another country, you can just use the blockchain technology. Okay, there are many blockchains network out there. For example, just now I mentioned Bitcoin blockchain, ETH blockchain, and also you will see on the slide the Binance Smart Chain, okay, which is created by the biggest crypto exchange so far, okay, Binance, and also Tron. Tron is another network as well. And ERC20 means ETH network called in short form called ERC20. So you can choose which gateway you can transfer your money to. Okay, just like tunnel. Okay, Cross Harbor Tunnel in Hong Kong, you can choose the Hong Kong one, or you can choose the West Kowloon one. Okay, just choose it. And sometimes it may have like traffic congestion. Okay, if there are lots of people using the channel, or sometimes they may have like technical issue, okay, or maintenance, you can just choose another one. Okay, choose the cheapest one to go through. And most importantly, you have to choose some network that's very famous or other people would use or renowned one. Don't choose some like you never heard the name of, and usually there's some like scam network or scam project, then you will permanently lose all your cryptocurrency.
Right.
Yeah, so choose some like famous, or you may just search it on Google. Okay, and here is about how to locate them. Okay. When we transferred our like cryptocurrency, you have a wallet first. Okay, wallet is like your bank account. And then for each wallet, you have your own address, we so-called a blockchain wallet or blockchain address. It's composed of many like English and also numerical figures. Okay, maybe 20 or 30. It's very long. Okay, you just can't, usually you can't remember, but you can just search it. Okay, on your wallet, and by using the address, okay, you can just transfer your money to your friend. For example, I want to transfer the victim. Okay, I just ask for your wallet address. Okay, and then I transfer to you. So it's like your bank account number. Okay, that's just like your bank account number. People may say that, okay, it's anonymous. Okay, blockchain is anonymous. It's really hard to track who transferred to who, and it's usually used by some criminals or like criminal offense. We usually use the blockchain to transfer value because it's anonymous. It won't have the real name on it, but I would say actually it's more transparent. Okay, when you transfer the value using blockchain, because for example, when I transfer 1 Bitcoin to you now, okay, after 10 or 20 or 30 years, people can just Google it on this website called ETHScan. Okay, just Google it. Okay, and you can after 20 years or 30 years, you can just see the transaction I just done. Yeah, you can check the timestamp, how many Bitcoins are transferred to you, or and also which address to which address. Okay, it's all written on the blockchain. And you can't just amend it or edit it or hack it or erase it. Okay, you just can't do anything.
It's just like a continuing record.
Yes,
a
yes, a ledger. Yeah. So this is the so-called blockchain is a ledger that you can amend. Okay, or can edit, or you can erase it, or you can delete it. Is forever. Okay, forever state in the blockchain. Only if the whole world, okay, the internet disappear. Okay, when the internet disappear and we won't use the internet anymore, and blockchain disappear. So blockchain, if you want to destroy blockchain, you can't just destroy one country or one server or one building. You have to destroy the whole internet system. Okay.
Well, Calvin, I've got one question.
Yeah.
How do you know people not putting, incorrect information in? Perhaps that you claim the ledger is really entered by a person. If the ledger entered by other person on behalf of someone else, okay, there will be a degree of fraudulence in it. But how do you detect, whatever entered is the correct? Could be if you're talking about, I know my knowledge in, cryptocurrency is quite limited, but I'm just thinking about if so-called claim, you own that Bitcoin, but when I kind of enter my ledger or something, I just enter on behalf of Sarina.
Like maybe like one cold wallet to another cold wallet. You know which wallet it's from, but you can't really trace whose wallet it is. Right. So it's quite hard to really trace who the actual transferor and the transferor, like who are they?
Okay, first I guess the first question is about could you just enter a wrong information onto the blockchain? You just can't do it. Just can't do it because the ledger operates in a way that you only use it to transfer value. When you transfer value, then you have the record on it. I just can't input my record. For example, I just can't input, I transfer 100 Bitcoin to you. I just can't input. I really have to do this action in order to write the record, to write the record on the blockchain.
Okay.
Yeah, so you just can just type in or just put in the information. Okay, and the second question is that, that's right. We don't know the operator. We don't know the name of the operator because if you use hack into my exchange account and transfer money away, I don't know it's done by Sarina. Okay, just know my account to my address, my wallet to another wallet. Okay, wallet A to wallet B. Okay, you don't know the operator. Yeah.
How do you come across? Sometimes when you do your bank wiring, you transfer the money into the wrong account by mistake.
Yeah.
What happens if you transfer your Bitcoin
to a wrong.
Can you I call back in you?
Usually you can. Usually you cannot do it.
You can just ask nicely. The recipient, can you transfer it back to me?
Yeah, my friend did that. Failed. I can't get back. Failed. Yeah. So this yeah.
It can happen then.
Yeah, I think the wallet address is not like a very simple phrase, right? It's very long. So in order to get it right,
Double
you
check
just have to double check.
Yes, double check.
Yeah, and copy and paste.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And also, usually when I transfer money or transfer crypto to my friend, we would do like to do a test trade. For example, I will send him with a minimum amount, like 0.001 Bitcoin. Okay, and then I'll text him, okay, if you receive my, see if you receive my Bitcoin. After he confirmed, then I'll transfer another remaining one. Yeah.
I see.
This is what you can do to ensure that you transfer to a correct address.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, this is pretty much my part, and I will pass the floor.
Thank you, Calvin. So now is me talking about a more morbid part of the seminar. What I'm going to share with you all is estate administration upon death, and what we have to be aware of if there is digital assets involved. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give some general information on how to administer an estate, and then I'll go into details on what we should note if there is digital assets involved. So please bear with me if you are already an expert in estate administration, which I know some of you might be, but I just want to give everyone a brief idea on what is going on before I get into the details. So generally, when we when we administer an estate, the first thing we need to do is to ascertain the assets. What actually is in the estate? I often have to educate my clients on what is actually contained in your estate, whether it's held in your name, and the name of the deceased, and a joint name, or under a nominee arrangement, what would constitute to be part of the estate. In short, we need to know the pool of the assets that we are dealing with. And this is especially hard when digital assets are involved, because especially with cold wallets, as I said, it's quite hard to ascertain who is actually the account holder, the wallet holder. And we might not know the asset exists if they're because they're like more difficult to trace. We'll go into more details in our next slide. Secondly, as part of the estate administration, we need to do tax filing. And this is very important. Tax filing deadlines is like very crucial in part of estate administration, because it could be a personal liability for the personal representative if a tax filing deadline is missed. So we have to know what tax implications there is when someone died, and also where do we have to do the tax reporting. Also, when it comes to digital investment, the $1 million question would be, what jurisdiction is these assets held with? So where do I need to do the tax reporting? And we'll also go through this later in another slide. So after, as part of the ascertaining the assets, we will then have to take out a grant of representation. We'll have to prove that we are the rightful people to collecting the assets. And to do that in Hong Kong, we'll have to apply for a grant of representation in Hong Kong from the probate registry of the Hong Kong courts. We often heard people saying that they need to get probate, and what they mean is that they need to apply for a grant of probate. And this is actually a form of a grant of representation if there is a will. And if there's no will, then the grant will be called a grant of letters of administration. But essentially, both of them are actually grants of representation, giving the rightful person the identity to administer the estate. And lastly, of course, after collecting in the assets, proving that you're the rightful person to deal with it, we come to the happy part where we distribute assets to the beneficiaries. Of course, there are quite a bit of loopholes and things that we need to consider when distributing assets, but probably this is not part of our seminar today. What we want to know today is what do we have to do, like when we are considering an estate with digital assets, and distribution is not really a very difficult part, and it's basically the same as any other asset. So I won't go into details. If you all want to know more about practical estate administration, then feel free to let us know and we'll organize another seminar on that. Okay, the first one we just mentioned is how do we ascertain digital assets? Well, normally, how do we do that? With normal assets, it's easy. We write to the banks. But with digital assets, we have different methods of holding. We have different service providers. So it's quite hard to ascertain without any hints on like what kind of service provider one is using. So I will jump directly to the practical tips for all those with digital assets, is that if you hold digital investments, crypto, NFT, make a list. Make a list of asset and liabilities. You don't need to put all the details on it. You don't need to say like I own an NFT of a picture of a person smiling or a selfie. You don't need to do all those details, but at least put on your list what service providers do you have accounts with, account numbers maybe, and just make a list telling people, your personal representative, whom they have to get in touch with, you know, so that they could get more details. And someone would ask whether they need to write down their logins or password. And as Kevin just said, I think it's really a balance between being convenient and security. If you have a place where you write down on a piece of paper and store it in your safe deposit box, well, of course, it might make it easier for your personal representative to, you know, access those digital investments. But then on the flip side, it will make other people easier to get access to those investments. If you just write your seed phrases on the USB and you know, everyone will be able to get your assets. So I would say it's really a balance, like what is the value that you're looking at, and how easy it would be to get to be in control of those after one passes away. I mean, at the end of the day, your personal representative would be able to write to those service providers to get details of your logins and of the assets held with them, but it would be a more costly and more lengthy process. So, you know, just really is a very individual decision. Just balance it like how much crypto are you holding? If you're holding like $100 then maybe you should just write it down. Don't bother with, you know, all this grant and stuff. But if it's really 100 million that you're talking, then you'll have to be more careful with it, I would say. And on the list, of course, as I said, we need the name of the service providers and the wallet identification numbers. And, you know, I would suggest to update the list from time to time, but I don't think it is necessary to put on the list the balance and the actual amounts that you're holding because of all those fluctuations. So the information would probably not be very useful. And so on the other hand, if you are a personal representative, but the deceased did not leave a list, then what would you do? Well, the most obvious answer would be to go through phones and computers and to see what kind of apps or sites they use or bookmarked or any other logins bookmarked in your Chrome, in the browser. Well, we know that there's something called data protection, but and it's confidential, but then, you know, the good thing is the law is on our side. Once someone died, data protection no longer applies. It only applies to living individuals. So once deceased, data protection obligation is no longer an issue. And secondly, the personal representative effectively stepped into the shoe of a deceased. So, you know, me data, sue data. So the PR would have the right to access those personal information. And you'll have no idea how much interesting information you'll get from one's browsing history. So, you know, make sure to clean your cookies every once in a while. Apart from infringing data and computer data, what we could do is also we could check bank statements to see what kind of transactions were made, whether anything suggests transactions being made to digital investment managers, etc. And then, of course, we could also check drawers, safe deposit boxes for USBs, seed phrases, random phrases, which might give you clue as to the digital investment holdings. As mentioned earlier, one of the very important duties of a personal representative is tax reporting. And in general, the tax implication of the asset would depend on the jurisdiction that the asset is situated in. So seems easy enough. A US listed company would have US tax implications. UK landed properties, you have to tax report to the HMRC. But the problem is, what jurisdiction are these digital assets held with? If your hot wallet is with a Hong Kong licensed service provider, then it's likely that is a Hong Kong-based asset. But what about if you trade with other big service providers on the internet? The general rule of thumb, at least as at now, is that it is a country-based rule. So the tax is bound to the country that the asset is bought and sold. But we have to really be very careful with these kind of tax implications because it is still evolving and developing area. And we all know that tax rules, they tend to tighten, especially with high tax jurisdictions. So if you ask whether one would get caught in a tax bracket if you trade digital assets while you are on the road, while you're traveling, I would say not now. But then I'm not sure what would happen later on. So just be very aware of the local tax rules when you buy and sell cryptocurrencies or other digital assets. And regarding how to collecting the assets, I mentioned earlier that for Hong Kong assets, we need to show a grant of representation. And for release requirements for individual service providers, we have looked into the more commonly used service providers. And what we are told is that for a Hong Kong domiciled person, if they have tradings in cryptos or digital assets, then a grant of representation issued by the Hong Kong court would act as a proof of identity of the rightful personal representative. And it should be noted that the details of the digital assets should be included in the grant, should be included in the schedule of asset and liability annexed to the grant, because it is a criminal liability for the personal representative to administer assets that is not stated in the grant. But for release procedures for each service provider, I think it would be advisable to check directly with them, because all service providers, they have different release requirements and they have different jurisdictional requirements. So what we're saying is that in general, this is what they do. But for if you know which service provider you actually have wallets with, then it is just advisable to check with them to see whether their release requirement is actually something that you are agreeable with. Now we know that how difficult it is to administer an estate with digital assets. We should consider some planning tools just to make life easier for our for people administering our estates. When we talk about wealth planning tools, we often talk about wills and enduring power of attorneys and trusts. Now, wills is governs the disposal of our estates upon death. And then we have the enduring power of attorney, which governs our assets if we're still alive, but is mentally incapable to handle our financial assets. An important point to note with the enduring power of attorney is that it is a jurisdictional specific document. So a Hong Kong enduring power of attorney would only handle Hong Kong-based assets. So we are actually back to the question, are those digital investment Hong Kong assets? Well, theoretically, as we say, if you're trading, if you're a Hong Kong domicile, if you're trading in Hong Kong, then it should be Hong Kong assets. But then, because I don't really have any access to any case law saying that it is in fact the point, I could only show you this theoretical view. Theoretical view is that a Hong Kong power of attorney might be able to handle digital assets. But if you want to know for sure, it is really advisable to check with your individual service provider, because every service provider might have different requirements on who could handle those assets. But are we saying that there's nothing we can do? Well, I wouldn't say that, because even if the enduring power of attorney doesn't work, if one falls into mental incapacitation, we could still apply for a committee to be appointed on behalf of that person. And the committee would have much wider powers as to management of one's finances. So they should be able to handle the financial assets and digital assets. And if we are aware of any updates in this area, we'll also let you all know. But as far as we know now, I'm really not aware of any EPAs handling digital assets. Yeah, we don't really have cases on that. Just to make life easier for an attorney or the executor, if one is, minded to make arrangements for them to have easier assets, they might consider writing down information, putting down logins and passwords in a safe deposit box where it would be safe and also could only be accessible by a rightful person representative or by the rightful attorney. But as I said, it is really a balance between convenience and also security. If you write down phrases, if you write down seed phrases, or write down logins, there will always be this risk of people getting access to those information and being able to transfer all your assets away. So you really have to balance this risk is a commercial decision on whether this risk is something that you would like to take. Another solution that we always consider during wealth planning is trust arrangement, and whether these digital assets could be injected into a trust for wealth planning purposes and what practical issues we have to consider. So Victor, could you please share your insights with us?
Oh, lovely. Thank you very much, Sarina, for the, wonderful talk on the administration side of the digital assets, okay? And yeah, thanks for the opportunities. And it'll be my time to talk about trust, okay? You can all see, these are the typical trust structure. You will see the graph is telling you the settlor law is giving away the asset to a trust to be held by the trustee for the benefit of the beneficiaries, okay? And traditionally, you see a trust itself, it can hold any asset, valuable or a very sentimental value, asset can be held in there as well. But traditionally, you would be expecting to see the trust assets are financial asset, the bank account, listed shares, insurance policy, the real estate, or the shares of some company. Okay, and in the western part of the trust administration, that's where I did most of my trust training. Back in Jersey, I was there practicing, for about 25 years. And in the Western, they also put some luxury assets into the trust structures, like the Royal Yacht and private jet, into the trust structures as well. But now with the world is changing, and with the creation of Bitcoin, I think that's Bitcoin and digital assets is upcoming assets that people like to invest in and like to be held and maybe consider as the alternative asset, to be whole. And we all know Bitcoin, its value, can go up and down very rapidly and very, volatile. It's a bit like roller coaster, okay? And having said all that, okay, we need to go back to the basic foundation of as a trustee, what is our statutory and fiduciary duty, being a trustee, okay? And if you could go into the second slide, okay, doing that, you could see we're talking about just insurance, problems as such, okay? If I could go back to that by saying a trustee, we have got our fiduciary duty and and a statutory duty is to really, to protect the asset of the trust asset, to make sure the asset itself, is to be well safeguarded in a way. But if you are considering, a asset itself is so difficult to, let's say, protect, we have got, we are really exposing ourselves into 3 different type of risks. I'll come back to a different slides. But you can see the fiduciary duty of the trustee is well written in so many different trust law. In the Hong Kong, trust ordinance, and in Jersey trust law, it really, stipulate very clearly that a trustee should really be, you can see, so far as reasonable, preserve the value of the trust property, and also, reasonably also enhancing the value of the trust property as well. But that is a very challenging to us when we are talking about a very unstable asset being in the digital assets. I'll just go back to the previous slides to tell you what are the 3 major risks that the trustee will be exposing ourselves to. But to start with, in practice, which is our personal experience, that a trust company need to have a professional indemnity. That professional indemnity will be detailing, when you're providing your trustee services, what type of assets that the trust might be holding. But we find out our old trust company is not really giving us any indemnity against digital assets. So that's one lesson to be learned for client or prospective, individuals, wealthy individuals wanting to put their digital asset into a trust. If the trust company say they are able to accept, I think it's best to check, to see whether their in-house insurance cover does cover the trust asset, including digital assets. Let's go back to other 3 risks that we are exposing ourselves to. One will be the actual investment risk. As I just saying to you, the basic fundamental of our trustees' responsibility is to safeguard the value of the assets. But with digital assets, the value can go up and down. And that is something that would not want the trustee want to see. We rather go conservative, and we want to safeguard the asset with that. The case of whether we are able to enhance it or not, that is not really our main fiduciary duty, as you saw just now. Being extracted from the Jersey governing law. By saying you could only do as much as you could, to enhance the value of the trust property. So investment risk is something that we need to be considering. The other risk that we need to be considering, if we as a trust company accepting the digital assets, but we need to think about, where do we store them? Where do we keep them? Somewhere needs to be safe. But as Calvin just mentioned, there are 2 types of storage. One will be the cold wallet and the hot wallet. But obviously, the hot wallet is safer because that the hot wallet is being administered by a regulated, organization. Like Hong Kong, there are 2 SFC, regulated, platform that you could go to. But is it really safe? But we've heard of story. Some other regulated exchange platform in other countries, has gone, liquidated, or even the owner themselves, manage to steal the money, for their own benefit. So, I think that's the risk that we also need to consider. Okay. But for cold wallet, that's even worse. Okay. And where do we keep the cold wallet, the USB and other things. Okay. So we need to be very careful of doing that. Okay. Other risks that we need to consider will be the source of funds. Okay. The provenance of that, where does those, money coming from? Okay. If the client, nowadays we all know if you are in a financial institution, there are ML regulations that we need to comply with. Okay. The lack of the source of wealth. If the client come to us saying, okay, our wealth is created from trading, in digital assets. Okay. That's going to be a very, very hard job, for us to check that. Okay. So, is there a solution to it? I think at this moment, is not quite easily accessible. Some would say that you could hire a IT expert to track down all this ledger or blockchain, to locate the ownership of those assets and how this money can be generated. Okay, I think that is doable. I think that's going to be quite challenging and quite costly as well. Okay, just by looking at the source of wealth. But then, going forward will be the holding it. I mean, the fund situation, with the source of funds, where they're coming from, we need to be making sure if they come from a hot wallet, a regulated platform, that's easy to identify. But if they come from a cold wallet, but that will be a challenge for us to ascertain whether are you the legitimate legal owner of those digital assets as well. So all in all, they are challenging and in considering accepting digital assets as trust assets as well. Okay, but more practical, I can share with you. At this moment, our organization, okay, we still do not accept digital assets, as trust assets yet. Okay, but it's something that we're looking into it very seriously, and there are ways that we think that it can be considered. And those problems that we identify, the risks that we identify, there might be a solution to it. Okay. For example, in terms of the investment risk, okay, that we expose ourselves to, there are some other solutions. Maybe that you could set up a trust with the settlor reserving the investment power. Okay, so by reserving the investment power, it means if the asset itself is very severely reduced, okay, that would not be the responsibility of the trustees. Okay, and other solution that you are also able to explore, maybe instead of setting up a traditional trust, you could, perhaps consider whether a foundation or a PTC, a private trust company, can be alternative, vehicle to hold your digital assets. Okay. And in terms of a custodian, I mean, definitely we would rather prefer the assets to be held by professional service provider. Okay. I mean, the like of what Calvin mentioned. I mean, I need to go back to him, if we have a real case, needing a professional regulated custodian is available in Hong Kong. Okay. But, even that we are appointing the custodian, I mean, we can also perhaps give that power to appoint a custodian to the settlor, himself or herself. Okay. That power, can be fall into the spectrum of being the power holder to have that as well. Okay, that's another way that we're looking into it. I think that is something that we are quite happy to consider and to accept as well. Okay. Yeah. And we just mentioned about the actual investment risk management. We can be done by using alternative vehicle. I just mentioned to you about foundation or PTC itself. Okay, and other things we need to consider is about letting the client, the settlor, reserving the actual investment power, also the power to appoint the custodian as well. Okay. I just covered about the custodian risk management and everything, cold storage. I think we need to really make sure if a digital asset is being stored in cold storage, we need to make sure whether they where that cold storage is being held, the password being protected. So all these things need to be well documented in a way, and put away safely as well. Okay. And I think once again, in terms of how best to hold these digital assets, okay, we are also recommended that digital asset is to be held by another layer of holding company, of which the company would be appointing the client as the director. So the actual fiduciary duty of looking after the asset will be passed on to the director of that company holding the digital assets. Okay. And the AML, we just mentioned about it. I think, all in all, we just need to be very, careful in terms of ascertaining the source of wealth. When the wealth get created from trading in digital asset, I think that's going to be a costly. We need to appoint an expert, to do that. Okay, but us being the trustee, we also need to understand the concept and the knowledge of digital assets a bit more as well, in order to enable us to manage and mitigate our risk, as well. Okay. And, I think, all in all, we would only likely, when we were to be able to accept digital asset, we, likely only will be happy to accept those assets if they are held by a regulator, exchange provider, in a way. Okay. That is all I have today. But I think, as I mentioned to you, any assets can be put into a trust. I think the key to how we best manage that need to some expert, involvement as well in terms of dealing digital assets. Okay, because digital assets is extremely high risk. The value can go up and down. The storage can disappear easily. Okay, and other things about the AML issues. Okay, and in terms of the ledger, is still a mystery to me, unless that we have Calvin sitting in our office, guiding us through what they do. Okay, otherwise is still we consider as a very, very high risk assets. Okay, and to my knowledge, I believe now no bank trustees are happy to accept digital assets, and some other independent trustees, okay, they're very, very limited. They are happy to consider those digital assets, but once again, high risk come with a cost. Okay. And I will be believing that whoever the trust company happy to accept digital asset, there will be extra cost, to compensate the risk they are exposing themselves to as well. Okay.
Thank you, Victor. So this is kind of concludes our the content of our presentation. So it's now Q&A time. If you have any questions, please feel free to let us know those on the floor. But for those joining us through Zoom, please type your questions in the chat box and we'll answer them one by one. We already have one question from Dennis. Should the trust be onshore or offshore?
I mean, to be honest with you, it makes no difference, if you're considering injecting your digital assets, it's onshore, offshore. It's only a matter of might have different tax implications, okay? Or maybe some, potentially legal implication in a way, okay? But onshore and offshore, you can, literally accept any assets, okay? I think it's not really relating to digital assets. I think onshore, offshore is more like a tax implication that you need to consider more. Because onshore, most likely, the trust itself, will be subject to the regional tax, okay? Offshore, as we know, likely will be subject to no tax or very low tax. So.
I have a question, one for Calvin. And you said resetting of password, all that's not possible. You need to rely on that piece of paper to 12 to 24. So there are some, I'm sure, unclaimed accounts, right? So like in the banks, when people don't access the account, they go into dormant, right? So what happens to those unclaimed crypto?
Okay, first of all, you will talk about unclaimed crypto exchange account. Okay, first of all, when we talk about exchange account, when you use the exchange account, when you open an exchange account, you have to go through KYC and all the like identity stuff. So it is with hot wallet is with your identity. Okay, with your real name, real address, real Hong Kong ID. Okay, but if you're talking about cold wallet, it's without name. Okay, just without name. So it's really hard to confirm that it's owned by you or owned by Peter or Mary. Yeah, so unclaimed USB or unclaimed cold wallet is really hard. It's really hard to
There was some hacker that died and the thing is gone, right? Like like you can't search for that. So that's the difference between the hot and cold.
Yes.
Any more questions? We don't have any on the chat box, but it seems to be a little bit quiet today. Maybe we are all a bit shy, but no worries. If you have any questions that you want to ask us offline, then feel free to drop us an email. You'll see our contact information here. And if you want to just send us emails, and if you want to reach Calvin or Victor, we'll always forward them your questions so that they could answer them for you. Thank you. Thanks.
I thought that. Oh, okay. Okay, thank you so much, Victor and Calvin. Once again, you share your insight and expertise with us, which is really grateful. And to show my appreciation to your generosity, I would like to present this gift. This time is chocolate.
Oh, lovely. Thank you. Thank you, Rita. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I know that this is quite a new, as I said at the beginning, a new area for a lot of development on the practical side and investment side, as well as the trust planning side. And I'm sure there will be a lot more cases coming up. And I'm sure there should be a lot of questions if you are not that shy today. But anyway, feel free to contact us if you have any questions. Thank you so much. Good evening. Thank you
very much.